Good evening, I'm Taylor Mondragon. Welcome to Newswatch, your source for news impacting southeastern Ohio. A verdict has been reached in the trial of Jaquan Hall. Newswatch reporter Curtis Fader is here with the story.
Thanks, Taylor. After a week of trial proceedings and hearing closing arguments this week, the jury in the Jaquan Hall trial stepped out to begin deliberations, and now they have reached a verdict.
The indictment for murder says we, the jury in this case, duly impaneled, sworn, and affirmed, find the defendant, Jaquan Hall, guilty of murder on or about the 4th day of April, 2020.
An emotional reaction from Kane Roush's family after Jaquan Hall was found guilty of murder. Hall was found guilty of aggravated murder, conspiracy, and complicity on all counts. And his trial was for the death of Kane Roush. DNA evidence collected at the scene linked Hall to the scene of the crime, and the prosecution obtained a letter to his alleged co-conspirator, Keontae Nelson, telling him to make sure their stories matched and to burn the letter after he read it. The key witness was Richard Walker, who took a plea deal and testified that they all went to Roush's house Easter morning to rob and kill him, with Hall and Nelson both shooting Kane multiple times until he died. Chief Prosecutor James Stanley had this to say on the verdict.
I'm very thrilled at the verdict, happy for the family. It's been a long road to get to this point.
The date of Jaquan Hall's sentencing is scheduled for November 14th, with the maximum penalty being life without parole. Now back to you, Taylor.
Thanks, Curtis. Mason, West Virginia police have identified a person of interest in connection with a shooting that happened on Friday afternoon. Chief Colton McKinney tells WSAZ that Wayne Lieb is a person of interest in connection that deadly shooting Friday in the 500 block of Front Street. At this time, the victim's identity has not been released. The Pomeroy Police Department arrested Lieb in connection with the death of Dwayne Qualls on Friday. Qualls was shot and killed in the 100 block of Spring Avenue and Pomeroy on Friday evening. The shooting occurred more than 3 hours after the shooting in Mason. McKinney says the two incidents may be connected, but police are still investigating. Nelsonville-based company Rocky Brands announces it has sold Neo's Overshoe to SureWorks, a leading global manufacturer of safety, tool, and equipment products. Business Wire reports Rocky acquired Neo's Overshoe in March 2021 when it purchased the performance and lifestyle footwear business from Honeywell. Neo's Overshoe has been designing and manufacturing overshoes built to protect workers and consumers alike from the elements since 1993. If you're a minimum wage worker in Ohio, you'll be seeing more money in your wallet starting next year. The state minimum wage will increase to $10.10 an hour on January 1st, 2023. It is an 80-cent increase from the current $9.30 wage for non-tipped employees. The minimum wage for Ohio's tipped employees is also going up to $5.05 an hour. The increases are linked to the rate of inflation, which is at 8.7% over the past 12 months.
Summer is holding on by a thread, as you can see here in Athens. Right now we're looking at 67 degrees, and earlier today we did reach some higher 60s, so it was a little bit warmer throughout this afternoon, and we're looking at some clear skies right now with a little bit of sunshine and some light cloud coverage, and it has been some light humidity out there. And as we take a look at our local radar, we aren't seeing anything in the Athens area, no rainfall right now, but as you can see to the west of us in the Wilmington area, we do have some light showers, and as we move down south into the Charleston area, we do see some light rainfall, and moving up northeast, we see some light to medium rainfall, but again, nothing in Athens. And as we look at the current temperatures across the board, in Athens right now, we are looking at 68, and as we move up into the Lancaster area, we are looking at 68, and as we move up north into Columbus, we are looking at 66, but I'll let you know if those temperatures are going to stick around in my full weather forecast.
Hasn't spread to the rural areas like Southeast Ohio as quickly as urban areas, but environmental advocates are working to change that. Newswatch reporter Ava Christensen has more.
Showcasing the benefits of electric vehicles. That's the goal of National Drive Electric Week. To close out the week, Drive Electric Ohio and Rural Action partnered up to gather numerous e-car enthusiasts in Belpre on Sunday.
Drive Electric Southeast Ohio is putting on an EV ride and drive event to really, streamline outreach and engagement to our Southeast Ohio community.
Guests were offered an up-close insight into electric driving, as they were able to test drive a range of 14 e-cars from private owners. Right now, Ohio is far below the national average in the number of electric cars. According to the U.S. Department of Energy, the national average is 1 electric vehicle per 250 residents. Ohio only has 1 per 500 residents. Clean energy advocates say part of the challenge is the options consumers have.
The electric vehicles have just started really meeting sort of the need and standard of vehicles for folks who live in rural places.
Rural areas also lack the infrastructure needed for electric vehicle owners, but new federal could increase electromobility in Ohio.
The Biden administration has proposed what they call the NEVI plan, it's National Electric Vehicle Infrastructure Plan. The goal is to promote level 3 EV charging station deployment around the country, like along highways.
Last week, Ohio's Department of Transportation officially accepted federal funds to expand electric vehicle infrastructure in the state. The goal is to have at least one level 3 charger every 50 miles along qualified highways. Level 3 chargers provide up to 20 miles per minute of charging. Overall, National Drive Electric Week leaves an optimistic outlook for a future with more sustainable transportation in Southeast Ohio.
I think over the next few years, it's going to be a really exciting transition as we get a lot more of the vehicles out, as we get more of the infrastructure out. I'm looking forward to it.
Reporting for Newswatch, I'm Eva Christiansen.
As of 2018, Ohio was home to 9,000 electric vehicles. 5 Oath Keepers on trial for their part in January 6th insurrection are revealing new information. Plus, the FAA is announcing a new rule affecting mandatory rest periods between flights. These stories and more when Newswatch returns.
It's one of the most challenging viruses scientists have ever faced.
HIV is very clever. The virus can mutate where medication stops working.
After decades of innovations,
the science that's developed is remarkable.
Can we finally end the epidemic?
That is what I want to see in my lifetime, and I absolutely know I can.
Ending HIV in America.
We have the tools to stop it. Let's do it.
On Nova.
Wednesday at 9 on WOUB.
Next time on The War. Fresh troops are tested in North Africa.
Over here, we all know it. The worst is yet to come.
As America redefines freedom.
I'm going into combat with my folks behind barbed wire.
And the skies take their toll.
If you met a guy and bought him a beer, tomorrow he would be gone.
In part 2 of The War.
Thursday at 9 on WOUB.
3, 2, 1, start.
TM Landry Prep in rural Louisiana went viral for sending its graduates to the Ivy League. But when the facade crumbles,
all that I care about is winning.
How will its students navigate the myth of meritocracy?
We work our asses off. It's like boot camp.
Accept it on POV.
Monday at 10 on WOUB.
October is here. There's no better time for high school football. This Friday, St. Clairsville travels to take on rising stars of the Buckeye 8, the Union local Jets. Washington Courthouse battles Chillicothe, looking to set up an FAC title match with Jackson. And in a game with high stakes for the MSL Buckeye, Bloom Carroll defends their title against Logan Elm. So join us on Friday night at 11:30 p.m. on WOUB. And remember, there's nothing better than Friday nights and gridiron glory.
The House January 6th committee says it plans to hold possibly its final hearing next week. But Americans don't have to wait that long to learn more about what happened during the Capitol riot. 5 alleged members of the far-right Oath Keepers group are on trial, charged with seditious conspiracy. Estranged wife of founder Stuart Rhodes says he studied manipulation techniques to inspire others to storm the Capitol, but he chose not to enter the building. An FBI agent testified that senators seemed shocked during some of the riot, and some were even crying. As for then-President Donald Trump, newly released audio shows at one point he denied watching the riot unfold on TV. Testimony to the January 6th panel contradicts that. The 5 defendants in the Oath Keepers trial have pleaded not guilty to seditious conspiracy and other charges. The woman who allegedly recruited migrants from Texas to fly to Martha's Vineyard has been identified. Perla Huerta, a former combat medic and counterintelligence agent, has been identified by investigators as allegedly recruiting migrants to fly from Texas. About 50 Venezuelan migrants were flown from Texas to the Massachusetts resort town in mid-September using Florida taxpayer funds. In June, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis set aside $12 million to transport unauthorized migrants out of the Sunshine State. Shortly after the money was being used in a place far from Florida, rounding up asylum seekers from the streets of San Antonio. One migrant told CNN the woman named Perla offered him food, clothes, and money in exchange to find others willing to fly to Massachusetts. According to the Massachusetts National Guard, the Venezuelan migrants transported to Martha's Vineyard from Texas will be leaving their temporary shelter at the end of this month. So far, no word yet on where the migrants will go when they leave Joint Base Cape Cod. The skies may just become safer today after the Federal Aviation Administration unveiled a new rule for flight attendants. Chris Wen has the latest from Washington.
For years, frustrated flight attendants have been pushing for change.
This started in the late 80s as flight attendants were identifying the problems with fatigue.
Flight attendants flying fatigued, sometimes on back-to-back flights, all while being on the front lines in the skies.
Sometimes the flight attendants are the first person that a passenger sees when something goes wrong. We are the first person, after they pass through security, after they check their bags, we have to deal with the brunt of the frustration in airline travel right now.
Compensate us. Give us the rest that we need.
Now, the FAA has announced a new rule that extends the minimum mandated rest period for flight attendants from 9 to 10 consecutive hours between shifts when scheduled for a duty period of 14 hours or less.
Flight attendants had even fewer rest hours than pilots. I worked alongside them, traveled with them, and I can tell you firsthand that well-rested crew members are important to safety.
Despite the big win, airline activists say their fight is far from over.
We continue to make this one standard of safety and continue to press forward to ensure that this minimum rest is also applied for cargo pilots.
In Washington, I'm Chris Wynn.
The fall travel season is in full swing. A new survey finds soaring inflation and recession fears won't disrupt fall travel plans for families. It comes as the industry recovers from disruptions from Hurricane Ian and a chaotic summer travel surge.
Autumn is here, and the travel industry is hoping to soar past cancellations and delays caused by Hurricane Ian and the chaos of a summer surge as it prepares for a busy fall season amid soaring inflation and recession fears.
With a lot of now pent-up travel demand, there's some wonder that maybe this time will be a little bit different.
A new survey finds Americans are still making fall travel plans despite higher costs. According to the latest quarterly State of the American Traveler report, close to 2/3 of surveyed American travelers still plan to go on at least one overnight trip in the next 3 months. And for those traveling by car, gas prices are creeping up, a trend that started before Hurricane Ian disrupted some oil production in the Gulf of Mexico, though the main facilities were not directly hit. Nationwide on Monday, the average price for a gallon of regular gas was nearly $3.80. That's up from the recent low of $3.67, according to AAA. But that's not keeping some drivers off the road.
Is it going to change as much as I drive? Probably not.
It comes as the travel industry braces for a potential airline merger between Spirit and JetBlue, with some travel experts warning it could lead to less competition and give consumers fewer options.
So even if you never fly Spirit, you may face higher fares if they no longer are an airline that's competing with the Deltas and the Americans of the world.
If you're planning a trip this fall, experts recommend you book flights early, be flexible with your plans, and consider international options. For today's Consumer Watch, I'm Jen Sullivan.
Passengers flying to or from areas affected by Hurricane Ian faced canceled or flights delayed, as several airports on the storm's path shut down operations for days. The death toll in Florida continues to rise after Hurricane Ian decimates the state.
Setting our house on fire. They were shooting from airplanes.
My husband said, "Baby, we've lost everything we had."
Going back to T-Town on American Experience.
Saturday at 9 on WOUB.
October is here. There's no better time for high school football. This Friday, St. Clairsville travels to take on rising stars of the Buckeye 8, the Union local Jets. Washington Courthouse battles Chillicothe, looking to set up an FAC title match with Jackson. And in a game with high stakes for the MSL Buckeye, Bloom Carroll defends their title against Logan Elm. So join us on Friday night at 11:30 p.m. on WOUB. And remember, there's nothing better than Friday nights and gridiron glory.
That guy took everything from me.
Gun violence is plaguing this country.
Some guy with an AR-15 just murdered my daughter.
My mom called and said David shot himself.
But what about the trauma that lingers?
I don't go to bed any night that I don't think of her being blown apart.
This is not something that you come out of unchanged.
Ricochet, an American trauma. October 5th at 10, 9 Central.
Next time on The War. Fresh troops are tested in North Africa.
Over here, we all know it. The worst is yet to come.
As America redefines freedom.
I'm going into combat with my folks behind barbed wire.
And the skies take their toll.
If you met a guy and brought him a beer, tomorrow he would be gone.
In part 2 of The War.
Thursday at 9 on WOUB.
For the first couple of days of October, we've been finally starting to see that crisp seasonal autumn weather. As you can see here in Athens today, we did have a temperature high of 68 degrees. So it has been warmer than that average autumn weather with a low of 41 degrees. So if you had a chance to get outside this morning, it was much cooler. And on top of that, it's been a partly sunny day. So a lot of cloud coverage, but mostly sunshine. And on top of that, clear days. You can see here in Athens, no rain has hit us, but we have seen a little bit of those showers west to us in the Wilmington area. And as we move south into the Charleston area and northeast of us, we have seen some light to medium rainfall. But again, nothing in Athens. And as we look on a wider scale, we have seen some light to medium to heavy rainfall in the west and east of us. But again, nothing in Athens besides some remnants of Hurricane Ian, some light cloud coverage, but that's expected to move to the east of us and start to clear up the skies. As you can see here in Athens tonight, we are expecting a mostly clear evening with an overnight low of 41. So if you had a chance to get out this morning, it's going to feel a lot like that. It's going to cool down quite a bit. And tomorrow we do have some high pressure moving into our area, as you can see here, and foreshadowing the next couple of days, we do have a cold front moving in from the west. But with that high pressure tomorrow, that's going to bring us a temperature high of 72 degrees. So it's still going to be a fall day, but it is definitely going to get a little bit warmer. And we do have a temperature low of 45, and it's going to be mostly sunny. But with that high pressure stalling in our area, it's going to bring the warmest day of our week on Thursday. We're going to have a partly sunny day and a high of 74 with a low of 48. So it's definitely going to be warmer, but that trend is going to end on Friday. As we look here, it's going to be partly sunny with a high of 59 and a low of 36. So it's definitely going to drop down, and it's going to drop down even more on Saturday. It's going to be mostly sunny, but we're looking at a high of 57 and a low of 33. So that's definitely the lowest low that we've seen in a while and the lowest high. So it's safe to say these pool days are over. I'm going to dig through my attic and get my winter coat because those days are done. And that's going to continue into Sunday. It's going to be mostly sunny, but we're going to bump up into 62 degrees with a low of 37. So Sunday's going to be a little bit warmer, but still we are looking at mostly some fall days here, and that's going to continue into our work week. On Monday, it's going to be partly sunny with a high of 66. But as you can see here throughout the week, we are looking at our warmest days tomorrow and on Thursday. And as that cold front moves in on Friday, the temperatures are going to drop down into the high 50s, and it's going to warm up by the end of the weekend and into Monday. So make sure to get out there and finally start enjoying this crisp seasonal fall weather. Back to you, Taylor.
Thank you. Hurricane Ian's death toll is rising as crews in Florida intensify their search for survivors. As of Tuesday, at least 104 have been killed in Florida, with 55 of them in Lee County alone. Gloria Pizmino is in Fort Myers Beach with a closer look at the search and recovery efforts underway.
If you go any farther, you're waist deep neck deep in water.
Looking for any signs of life, crews in Florida are going door to door, searching for survivors in communities wiped out by Hurricane Ian. Officials in hard-hit Lee County say additional state and federal assistance is pouring in.
We took such a catastrophic hit, but everybody wants to help.
Search and rescue teams say they're finding morbid scenes. The death toll rising to over 100 in Florida.
And those numbers could go up. I pray to God again that they don't. But until we go through the rubble, until we see exactly what we have, we're not certain who's missing and what those numbers will be.
Several island communities are still hard to reach. Priority is given to rescue teams looking for victims. Officials say homes in some decimated neighborhoods are unlivable, and destroyed bridges have cut off aid.
All those people are without, a lot of them lived on the boats. They have no home now.
Some people still don't know the whereabouts of their loved ones. Officials say it's unclear how many are still missing. And it could take several weeks to restore power to the hundreds of thousands of people still in the dark.
There were some places that were just devastated, and you're right, they will take probably a month or longer to restore in those areas.
In Fort Myers Beach, Florida, I'm Gloria Pasmino reporting.
Hurricane Ian is now considered to be the United States' 25th deadliest hurricane. Ian's placement could change as officials continue to adjust the death toll in the hurricane's wake.
Coming up in sports, the Ohio running backs room is facing major adversity due to injuries. Find out more when Newswatch returns.
On American Experience. In Tulsa, Oklahoma, they were a thriving black community in a segregated world. But in 1921, it would all but disappear.
I remember the white people coming in with torches, setting our house on fire. They were shooting from airplanes.
My husband said, "Baby, we've lost everything we had."
Going back to T-Town on American Experience.
Saturday at 9 on WOUB.
On Rivers of Life, discover the river that connects more countries than any other on Earth, the Danube. A river of magical surprises, of ancient kingdoms, and glorious riches. Journey down the Danube, Europe's great waterway. Rivers of Life, Wednesday on PBS and the PBS app.
It's one of the most challenging viruses scientists have ever faced.
HIV is very clever. The virus can mutate where medication stops working.
After decades of innovations,
the science that's developed is remarkable.
Can we finally end the epidemic?
That is what I want to see in my lifetime, and I absolutely know I can.
Ending HIV in America.
We have the tools to stop it. Let's do it.
On Nova.
Wednesday at 9 on WOUB.
That gun took everything from me.
Gun violence is plaguing this country.
Some guy with an AR-15 just murdered my daughter.
My mom called and said David shot himself.
But what about the trauma that lingers?
I don't go to bed any night that I don't think of her being blown apart.
This is not something that you come out of unchanged.
Ricochet, an American trauma. October 5th at 10, 9 Central.
Welcome back and happy Tuesday, everyone. I'm Joe Collins.
The running back room for Ohio is facing a difficult situation, as not one, but both of their top two backs went down with injury. Starting running back O'Shawn Allison suffered a season-ending shoulder injury just 1 week before the first game. In their first game, sixth-year back Julian Ross went down, elevating redshirt freshman C.A. Bangora to the starting position. But running back coach Brian Smith has installed a philosophy for times like these.
It's a philosophy of having the next person up and preparing the group for the depth. And that was something we did all summer long, of getting a lot of those guys good reps and work.
That next man up mentality, it's a popular saying around football. It means that whoever's next up on that depth chart can step in anytime and make an impact. And you also need to be prepared at any time, because you never know when your name's going to be called.
Joe, get in there.
Definitely a high and up there mentality for everybody around the field. Everybody's got to be ready whenever they're in practice or even in the game. Well, then C.A. Bangura got injured, forcing even more roster change. That brought redshirt freshman Nolan McCormick into the fray, and just as Coach Smith taught, McCormick was ready for the challenge.
I think the coaches do a great job of preparing everybody on the depth chart. So, I just come and do the same thing every week and just making sure I stay ready for whenever my number's called.
This uncanny situation the Bobcats running back room found themselves in forced the Ohio coaches to make some changes. Some players were brought back, or in Quintel Quinn's case, switched positions. Normally a linebacker, Quinn is now a running back, and Coach Smith is impressed by how he's been able to make the hard transition.
The offense, as far as transitioning positions in season, is challenging, and learning everything we do after it's already installed is hard. He's done a great job of staying after practice, meeting extra, trying to get caught up.
Even with all of these injuries and change, the Bobcats running backs know that you can't make excuses, and the rest of the way now, it's all about that next man up mentality. Reporting for Newswatch, I'm Joe Collins.
Well, I was very excited to show that package to you, and so much so that it went by itself beforehand. But C.A. Bangura, who saw limited action in just 4 games last season, is the only healthy player in the room that has gotten into a game prior to the 2022 season. Going to the pitch, an Ohio soccer forward had quite possibly one of the best performances in school history this weekend. Forward Reagan Berg became just the 4th Bobcat in school history to score a hat trick, considered one of the hardest individual accomplishments in sports. Berg scored all 3 goals for the Bobcats in their 3-2 victory over Eastern Michigan. She's the first Ohio student athlete to score a hat trick since 2003. Berg was unanimously voted the Mid-American Conference Offensive Player of the Week for her performance. Talk about a one-person performance.
That is absolutely incredible. Only the 4th Bobcat to ever achieve that.
Absolutely. We saw something on Saturday that had not been seen in a long time.
Very, very cool.
We are going to be seeing a pretty chilly evening from what we saw earlier. We're going to see an overnight low of 41 degrees, and it's going to be a mostly clear night. And tomorrow, we're going to have a temperature high of 72, so it's going to be warming up a bit with a temperature low of 45, and it's going to be mostly sunny, and that's going to continue into Thursday with our warmest day of the week. It's going to be partly sunny with a high of 74 and a low of 48, excuse me. And on Friday, we're going to have a high of 60 with a low of 36, and to get cooler throughout the week. So what do you guys think? I mean, we are saying goodbye to the pool season and hello to pumpkin season. I am so excited for it to get chilly. What do you guys think?
Absolutely, and it's coming right at the perfect time as it's homecoming weekend. Really, really good time to bring in all that fall weather.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
We have to get all the scarves and coats on for the game this weekend for sure.
That's what I'm saying. We're finally getting out of the 70s. We're even going to be in the 50s this weekend. So if you're going to the game, definitely bring a sweatshirt.
And be sure to go to that to the band parade right before. Always a fun time when that happens.
Definitely.
Absolutely. And that does it for our broadcast this evening. Thanks for watching. For all of us here at Newswatch, I'm Taylor Mondragon. Stay tuned for the PBS NewsHour coming up next. And remember, you can find the latest news anytime at WOUB.org or follow us on social media. Have a great night.
Support comes from Visit Athens County. More information can be found at AthensOhio.com. Athens, it's more than a place. Support comes from Snyder Strode Jarrett Financial in Athens, providing investment and retirement planning assistance to Southeast Ohio for over 50